Welcome to our exclusive interview with Hawken Architects, an international architectural innovation firm based in New York City. Hawken is celebrated for designing future-forward architecture that addresses today's biggest challenges through visionary thinking. Their work spans neighborhoods, buildings, and installations, mapping opportunities, establishing forward-looking typologies, and designing unforgettable structures. Today, we are thrilled to sit down with Doran Ball, one of Hawken's partners, to discuss their collaboration with Shift Esperanza. Honored in Fast Company's ranking of the world's top 10 most innovative architects, Hawken shapes the future for people, communities, and investors alike. Their designs for Shift Esperanza include La Colmena, the vibrant central amenity hub, as well as the stunning eco-conscious home Dos Graneros. These structures are not only visually captivating, but also embody sustainability, energy efficiency, and a deep connection to the natural environment. Hawken's contribution goes beyond individual buildings. They've also played a key role in shaping Shift Esperanza's overall community design. In today's interview, we'll explore the inspiration behind these designs, their innovative approach to community and sustainability, and how Hawken is redefining what it means to live intentionally in harmony with nature. So let's get started. Welcome, Doran. How are you?
Good. Thanks for that lovely intro. It's very nice.
um, so just to get straight into it, how has Hawken contributed to shaping the overall design of Shift Esperanza? This has been a collaboration for quite a few years. You visited us last year in La Siembra. We got to meet the entire team. You guys are really doing amazing work in forward-thinking architecture. So yeah, share, how have you guys contributed to our project?
Yeah, I think to kind of just go back a little bit, but we've been fortunate enough to know Matt for quite a while. Back for when Matt was still in New York, and we've worked with him on many different projects. And so kind of getting to know him as a person and his goals and ambitions in life, and then seeing how those manifested into this project, which is so personal to him. Um, I think it put us in a pretty good spot to really understand what what the core, the DNA was. And so we were then brought in to kind of help transition his vision into the built environment. Um, the initial master planning was done by Void, and we assisted a little bit with that in terms of just general kind of positioning and very sort of high level thinking. And after that, we transitioned into designing two of the buildings on the site, one being the Beehive, which is kind of a community center, and then the second being the two barn house, which was one of the house typologies that's rolled out.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know who Matt is the founder of Shift Esperanza. You will see him in all of our interviews, and there is the story behind Shift. So just to give a bit of context there for those that are watching who don't know about Matthew, I'm curious, how does Hawken's philosophy of future forward architecture align with the goals of Shift Esperanza?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one of the things we like about the future forward kind of tagline is that it's sort of loose enough that it could take it on its own interpretations based on the project. And what we were so excited and so drawn to this project um, is the fact that it's not just a housing project. It's really a new way of living. It's creating a community through, of course, residential. Um, but it's much more than just a development. And to us, when we look at, sort of where the world is now, what are the directions that it's going in, or at least direction it maybe should be going in. To us, this idea of really connecting with people is at the center of that. And to be able to do that, on different scales, from connecting with your family to connecting with your neighbors to connecting with, your city, etc., is super key. Um, and so we loved that was kind of one step in this much bigger process.
Totally. And what was, I guess, the biggest challenges you guys faced in designing for a regenerative real estate project in Costa Rica? Because this is your first project here, correct?
This is our first project in Costa Rica. We've done a couple of other projects in kind of tropical climate. But of course, there's a lot of variation between that as well. Um, what was the most challenging for us is that we are a New York City based firm. And there's certain things we know and certain things that we bring to the table, but we're also very aware of things we don't and things that we need to learn for each project. And of course, designing a sustainable house in Costa Rica and New York City are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Um, and so, for us, that was really a challenge. And it was something that we were very excited to take on. And that's why we loved, um, you know, going to Costa Rica. We loved learning about the environment, learning about the construction techniques there, understanding, what's possible, what's not possible. And really, I think we took something that was kind of a, deficiency, but turn it into a strength by just diving into it and learning about it, becoming little like experts on it.
Yeah. And speaking of experts, as you guys are experts in the field, how do you envision the future of architecture? With the rapid advancements of technology, particularly AI, as your firm uses significantly, what groundbreaking innovations in sustainable architecture do you foresee shaping the industry in the coming years? And how can these developments, redefine how we design and build for both people and planet?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question, and there isn't necessarily like an easy answer because um, the way we see the application of AI is that it really affects every aspect uh, of the practice of architecture. Um, Everything from the initial design stages where now you're um, able to design much more intelligently with a lot more kind of integrated benchmarks of sustainability or benchmarks of um, different lifestyles, right? Making sure that you're designing a house that um, works with the residents, and you're not trying to force kind of a square peg into a round hole. But then it also, of course, extends to like the analytics, understanding how airflow works through a house and understanding what are better designs, to then construction and understanding how that can be optimized. Um, and so it really affects the whole life cycle of the project.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we look forward to, seeing how it plays out.
And getting into La Colmena,
Hmm.
aka the beehive, which is the heart of the community and will be the main community hub located in El Pochote, which is the first phase of this project. Um, I would love for you to expand on what inspired the design of La Colmena and how does it reflect Hawkins' innovative approach and how does it serve as a community space?
Yeah, I mean it was really interesting project for a couple of reasons. The first is just looking at where it's situated. So um, the community center is almost more of a bridge than a building because it sort of spans a valley. So it goes from um, one street to another with a pretty deep kind of gorge in the middle. Um, and so we wanted to create something that works with that challenging landscape, something that is um, kind of environmentally aware of the typology. And we thought a bridge structure would be the best because it would sort of minimize the impact on the typology. So we wouldn't be creating kind of a wall that blocks water flow, that blocks the movement of animals, etc. Um, and so, you know, taking off of kind of the shape of like the little mushrooms, um, we decided to go with an approach of like a modular almost pedestal design um, that that have a very sort of small kind of stem at the bottom, and then the pads enlarge to where you have the programming. Um, and so that was kind of tectonically what we were challenged with. But the other thing about designing a community center is that it's in many ways the sort of heart of the project. It's where everyone gets together and uh, really all the kind of exciting stuff happens, particularly I think in Matt and Ginger's vision. Um, but it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg because you design the community center without knowing the people that live there yet. And so you don't really know what their needs are. You don't really know how they live their lives, what would be most beneficial to them. And so there was also this kind of notion of trying to design something with flexibility, where it's almost designing a system that could be, you know, expanded, could be changed in maybe year 2 or year 5 or year 10 as the community, you know, evolves and grows. And that was also a fun challenge.
I didn't know that about the space. Why the name La Colmena or beehive? I mean, obviously the design represents a beehive, but aside from that,
Yeah.
visually speaking, um, what is it about that? And did you guys come up with it, or was that Matthew and Ginger? How did you guys come to that name?
Uh, I give credit to Matthew and Ginger for coming up
Okay.
with that, or at least it wasn't us. Um, so yeah, the shape, which to just kind of explain it, it's sort of a series of hexagons that are connected. And all of them have a sort of stem, and the reason we went with that particular shape is that it's very easy to fabricate. Structurally, it's very efficient, so we're limiting the use of materials, and then it allows you to nest them pretty easily, so that you can kind of move them around and grow it as need, even over time. Um, and so that was the initial start of it, and it just so happens that in plan it looks like a beehive. But the name was really brilliant because I mean, you know, Beehive is the community center. It's where everyone comes together. And again, that was, you know, so much of this building. So I think that was one of those coincidences that just ended up working out really well.
Love that. That's awesome. You've already mentioned a little bit about how um, the design is mindful of materials. What sustainable and or what other sustainable materials or energy efficient features uh, are incorporated into La Colmena design? You could mention.
Yeah, I mean the most sustainable thing you could do is really like not do anything, right? And obviously that's not necessarily the case with developments. But kind of taking that ethos, it's and particularly I think with Shift, where it's it's so remote, it's hard to get things out there. It's quite a large carbon footprint for a lot of materials. Uh, it was very important for us to understand, what are local materials that can be fabricated locally so that we're, not producing steel that has a, insane challenge of getting to the site of being fabricated, hundreds and thousands of miles away. But also just limiting uh, how much material is used in general and spending additional time to do engineering studies and seeing if I now angle this leg a little bit here, can I shave off the thickness of the column and use less concrete? So that was very much at the forefront in terms of material usage. I think another, of course, really important factor that also plays out in all of the house designs and particularly the beehive is of course understanding the climate and understanding how we could design something that has, you know, very strategic enclosures to allow air to circulate and kind of passive cooling moments as often as possible. And particularly, this was important for the beehive because it, as it sits above the valley, it's kind of in a natural sort of wind tunnel to some degree, and it's a little bit elevated, and so we made sure that again, as many of the spaces as possible were completely open. We're just providing shading uh, canopies for both sun and rain, but really maximize that sustainability aspect.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know about Nosara, we're in the Guanacaste region. We have a dry season, which is very, very hot. So, the homes need to be mindful of sun exposure and heat. And then obviously we have the wet season, and it rains a lot. And so that's another thing to be mindful of when designing homes in this climate, or in this region. um, I'm curious because when you mention how they're elevated from the ground,
Hmm.
generally, if something is elevated from the ground, then it's having a lower impact on the land, right? Have you guys, because you were given the lot in which this would be designed, um, have you positioned it in a way where it's going to be around the trees? Um, I guess it's visually stunning structure.
Hmm.
How does it blend with nature in that area of El Bochote?
Yeah, I mean, originally, I actually think we called it, or at least internally, we called it the tree house. Because to some degree, right, you have the kind of pads up above, but then as the structure comes down, it really becomes sort of like tree trunks. Um, and what that allowed us to do is have the kind of most minimal impact on the ground floor or on the sort of on the site. Um, and then through the positioning of um, the pads, we were able to avoid any major disruption to the site, and we were able to. They're the structures aren't symmetrical. So there's certain areas where it'll come out more than the other. And so we can begin to play with that as well to create sort of mini like bridging moments over uh, areas where, for example, like the water flows down. So we wouldn't interfere with the natural flow of the water either. So the design was, I
Beautiful,
think, pretty like robust in terms of dealing with this.
beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Um, so moving on to Dos Graneros, also known as two barns. Let's get into this because it's a 2 to 3 bedroom home with 2 bathrooms,
Mhm,
approximately 535 square meters.
mhm.
For those that want square footage, 5,758 square footage. What was the inspiration behind Dos Graneros? I mean, obviously the barn reimagined, but to elaborate on that, how does it stand as well as a model for sustainable living?
Yeah, I mean, um, I really loved the design of two barns, and the reason I love it is that I think it's so representative of the project as a whole. And what we wanted to do from the start is not create a design for a house that could live in any other part of Costa Rica. We wanted to create something that felt it could only be part of the shift community. So, to us, it was like, okay, how do we design a physical object that represents some of these like non-tangible goals um, of shift? And one of the things that's unique about this community is the farm that's attached to it, which you can explain better than I can, but it's, an incredible, fully functioning farm that could supply, food to so many people. Um, and to us, understanding that, you know, that is such a crucial point, we took the barn inspiration as that kind of prototypical farm structure, right? We're like, okay, if it's about the farm, let's build houses that resemble that tie into this narrative. And then, of course, the other big component is just living out in nature, beautiful landscape of Costa Rica. And so the design really became about how do we position these two barns um, to still maintain that kind of a little bit like industrial look, but take in the environment and create kind of like almost a mini living community within the house itself.
Yeah, and the design definitely reflects that. It's one of my favorite homes, to be honest. If I had to choose of all the homes that Shift is offering personally, that would be my option just because I'm a country girl at heart. And so I
Hmm.
feel like it's like country in the jungle. And you've got one barn that's dedicated to the social element of family life or, having your friends over and sharing a meal. That's then, you cross over a beautiful courtyard where there's an affinity pool that's got a view to the jungle, and then you've got the sleeping, the tranquil quarters, which is the other barn. um it's just a really a beautiful way to every day be in contact with nature, have the opportunity to live in a community focused environment, but also have serenity and peace and calm and privacy when you need it. um so I really feel that Dos Graneros really ticks off all of those uh, kind of lifestyle choices that people are looking for when they come to Nasara. Yeah, so it's like beach meets country, slash jungle.
Yeah, 100%. And even right, like the idea of the pool that's in the middle, right? Because for people who don't know, the two barns are kind of in like a V shape, and the courtyard is sort of that middle part. Um, the idea there is that could really be something that's let's say like custom designed for the user. If somebody wants a swimming pool, that could be a swimming pool. If somebody wants um, it to be like a garden for farming, there isn't a need for a swimming pool. It could just be gardening. If they just want to let the natural landscape run in, you could also do that. So it was is a little bit of kind of designed to try to tie into to the aspect of the user, again, not knowing who the end user will be.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, we do have the permaculture farm on the land. It's titled Finca La Esperanza. And the goal of that is to, yeah, feed a portion of the community. Um, but it will be part of the HOA. So again, we don't know exactly what the community is going to look like. However, they will be leading or deciding how that farm is used. So that's also a really exciting part, and it makes sense. It makes sense to connect this kind of first home design to the farm. I really love that was one of the major inspirations. Um, so going back to eco-friendly materials and energy
Hmm.
efficient systems, and even just water conservation, how a home manages water. Um, how were these used in the design?
Yeah, that really nice thing about uh, designing a barn-inspired house is that it allows you the freedom to be a little bit more, to do a little bit less, let's say. So the house design itself is, very, very simple. It's a basic structure with your sort of cladding materials in this kind of barn-shaped typology. So we were really able to minimize the use of unnecessary materials. There's not a lot of decorative walls in it. It's really very open, um, which was of course also good for air circulation and passive cooling. And then we saw, the barn, which has that kind of very pronounced V-shaped large roof, as a great opportunity to be able to manage uh, water and the water conservation aspect of the site. So we use the two big roofs to control where the water goes, to be able to store it as needed, and then to, of course, just channel it off of the site with kind of minimal disruption.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Doran, for sharing
Yeah.
all kinds of incredible insights and vision to these two spaces. Um, is there anything that you would like to share that we haven't covered about either La Colmena Amenity Hub or Dos Graneros?
Um, no, I think you covered it all very well. I think that took care of it. I just encourage people to go to Costa Rica and specifically Nasara and check out the place because it was definitely it's definitely being there very, very different than seeing it or hearing about it. And it's such an amazing location. Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. There's something about Nasara that it just leaves a mark on you. It's the Pura Vida energy, it's the jungle, it's the ocean, the
And
people, the
it's the people, yeah.
yeah,
The people and the community around this place are, it's truly extraordinary.
it really is. I totally agree with you. The wellness oriented lifestyle, which is so wonderful to have access to, any type of class any day of the week. And then also kind of this eco-conscious mindset that most people in the community are living, day to day. So it's really wonderful to be in a place where you are surrounded by like-minded people who share the same values. That's something that I think really contributes to making this place unique. So thanks for saying that. And I remember when you
Yeah.
came with your partner, you guys went surfing, you had an amazing time. Yeah, it was a really great experience getting to know you guys at La Siembra and seeing you guys, arrive from New York, and at the end of the week, how you also had a transformation in yourselves. That was
Well, we mostly didn't want to leave. Yeah. We were happy to extend for, another month if we needed to. Um, but it was yeah, I mean it was definitely a very incredible trip and we're fortunate that both my partner and I get to travel a lot, so we get to see a lot of different places. But Nasara was definitely our favorite. Um, and it's very rare that after visiting a new place that like 3 months later you're like, I want to go back there again, right? But
Totally.
it was magical, absolutely.
Yeah, it was magical. Well, again, thank you for your contributions to Shift Esperanza. It's been a pleasure working with your firm. Um, both of the designs really exemplify the power of future forward architecture in creating sustainable and community focused spaces. If you're as inspired as we are by Hawken's work, visit hawken.com, spelled HWKN, to learn more about their designs, and visit shiftesperanza.com to learn how you can be part of Shift Esperanza Visionary Eco Village. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more exclusive content, and share this with anyone passionate about sustainable design and intentional living. Thank you again, Doran, for your time.
Of course.
And yeah, we'll see you soon
In Nasara, absolutely.
in the Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.